What's going on, everybody? This is the PWZ podcast. Rick Del Santo here. I'm joined by somebody I wanted to talk to for quite some time. He's the viral one, Millz Hendrix. What's going on, my man?
What's going on, everybody? What's going on? How y'all doing?
All right, all right. Let's just saying if there is a live chat, if you guys are in the chat, you got any questions, don't feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll throw them along here. So we're gonna start off, man. I first saw you last summer in I believe it was Paradise Alley. Now
Yeah.
I wanted to but let's go back a little bit further than that. When did you just first discover wrestling? What was your first exposure to professional wrestling?
Wow, my first exposure. It had to be back in the 90s. I was around 3 years old. And my family was just like a wrestling family. Like my grandma, my cousins, they all was into it. Like my grandma had the tapes of early days, like the Tuesday in Texas, the Royal Rumble '93. She had SummerSlam. She had the first WrestleMania, and then she just gave me like, since my cousin was outgrowing it, she gave me like her tape collection, because like I was still the youngest out of the family, so she gave me like a tape collection, and I just remember watching the Royal Rumble of '93, and
Mm-hmm.
it was like it was just, I don't know. I never seen a match like that with a lot of people in the ring, and then I see Undertaker come out. It was like when he had the gray gloves and he was still with Paul Bearer, and he was just tossing everybody out. And then this big giant of a man, Giant Gonzalez, just come out and just toss him out. And then it set up the feud for WrestleMania for that year. And it was like that was my first exposure watching the videotapes, and it had to be around like 99 ish, 2000. So I wanted to watch more of it. I'm like, how can I watch more of this? Because at the time we didn't have cable, we only had like regular TV, and SmackDown just came on Channel 9. So I just started watching SmackDown, and from there it just snowballed and snowballed and snowballed.
It's kind of how I got into it. I got into it watching it with like my cousin's house or whatever, and then I just kind of like slowly but surely became
Yeah,
obsessed with it over the years.
yeah.
The Guardian of Chaos is in the chat. He says, "Good evening and let's fucking go Mets." There you
Yeah,
go.
let's go
Hey.
Mets. I'm a huge Mets fan, and it's crazy because like the reason why I'm a Met fan, it kind of ties into wrestling. Because when SmackDown was on Fridays on, I think it was My9 at the time, UPN,
Yep, TV9. Yep.
they used to get cut off all the time by the Yankees. So it just made me like hate the Yankees because it's like y'all taking away my wrestling, and I was like around 6 or 7 at the time. So it was like being a Met fan just fell into my lap like that because of Yankees keep cutting off wrestling.
Nice.
Quick story
Um,
there.
what made you decide that you wanted to become a professional wrestler?
I I wanted to be like a wrestler all my life, to be honest. Ever since I started watching, when I first started watching is when Stone Cold got ran over, and like the guy that I idolized at the time was The Rock because he had the
Okay.
sunglasses with the Moschino shirt and all that, and I always wanted, like, I want to be that guy that gravitate, because he had so many people gravitate to him, and he was a person of the people, and it's just like it piqued my interest. So ever since then, I wanted to be like the next Rock, but
No, it's understandable, man. It's like when you're a kid, you get influenced by a lot of stuff like that.
yeah,
Yep. So I heard on another interview of yours that you trained under Brother Greatness.
yeah.
Tell me how that came about and how was that? I got some other questions here for you regarding your training as well, though.
I started in the BWF, and at the time, Brother Greatness was the cruiserweight champion of BWF, and they had like a wrestling school, and I would see him like all the time, like on a Wednesday, like just come for like open ring, but he wasn't a trainer at that time. He was just coming open ring and help like the new kids out. But at the time he wasn't my trainer, but like BWF got like cut off in the pandemic because of the pandemic or whatever, and I found out through another person that was training in BWF that him, Logan Black, and MV Young was opening a school in Brooklyn. So I already knew Brother Greatness, so I was like, why not? I'll go to T2T. And then that's how that all came about.
You also trained under, I saw Colossal Mike Law, the guy that's been
Oh
around
yeah,
a very, very long time.
right now I'm currently training at the Fallout Shelter with Mike Law.
I didn't realize that he was a trainer there. Can you tell me a little bit about that? That guy's been around for like almost 20 years, and he's you know, he comes around a lot to Paradise Alley. I've seen him a lot of places. He's an amazing performer, man. He's a really,
Yeah,
really good wrestler, and
he's a good mind for the business.
absolutely.
I like going to training and get to pick his brain to see how he how he looks at the business, because I noticed from everywhere I train, everybody see the business differently, and it's good to get the business from different perspectives, so you learn more, and that makes you perfect your craft and get better in your craft, because you know the little mistakes you was making, somebody else can see it that another person can't. So then you get like a clear eye to, oh yeah, maybe I could have done it this way, or maybe I could have done it that way. So it's been good. It's been a good experience training at the Fallout Shelter.
That's cool. Tell me about you've also trained with Masa Slamovich, who she's made some NWA appearances not so long ago. I'm not sure how familiar you are with the National
Yeah,
Wrestling Alliance.
I played with her a little bit because I just started in the Fallout Shelter. I'm just like still getting my feet wet over there, but
Yeah.
it's been a good experience training at the Fallout. It's been a good experience.
Yeah. Let me tell you. So you made your, obviously, I know you mostly from Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling. That's like the majority of the shows I go to. They're very local to me. I heard in another interview that you made your pro wrestling debut in a Paradise Alley ring. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Was that
yeah.
the tag match against the Faceless Ones when you teamed with Chris Ryan?
Yes, that was my debut. I did student shows at T2T, but
Okay.
if you want to count like in front of a live audience, that was
Okay.
my first live audience match.
Okay. What was it like those student shows? Was it just like you said, just student shows, or was there was there any kind of like regular people, like regular fans that were allowed in there?
Like at the beginning, it's just started off as student shows, but now like it's just snowballed into like a different, like they bring fans in, they bring like friends and families in to see how they progress, and
Right.
I main evented 2 student shows at Technique to Training, one against Logan Black, that's one of my favorite matches that I had, and I had a tribute match to one of my friends. He passed away around Survivor Series weekend. That main evented the student show too. I have good fond memories training in Technique to Training. I always would cherish and love the time I spend over there.
Okay. So then you worked. I'm going to ask you about a bunch of matches that I've gotten to witness just about every single one of them. You worked Shawn Knight in September 3rd of 2021. Shawn Knight is, of course, of the Haven, student of Paul Roma and Mario Mancini, 2-time Paradise Alley Tag Team Champion. That's another kid that's got a really bright future in the business as well.
Yeah, that's one of my bros. That actually it has to be on my top 5 of my favorite matches. But I look back at it and I couldn't tell how green I was at the time, because it was like my second live show, and at the time I was still like self-conscious of my in-ring ability. I didn't really think like I'm new, I'm still green. Like I didn't really think like that. But over time, when you get the reps and you get the seasoning, and then you start getting more matches out there, like your confidence start going up and up. And at that time, my confidence wasn't that good, but it was a good match though. For what it was, I feel like it was a good match.
Yeah, I remember that match. I actually watched it today. I recorded it, and it's up on our YouTube page for anybody that wants to go watch it. You probably, look for it there. It's a really fun match to enjoy. Yep. Of course, recently, well, not recently, I'm sorry. Also, earlier this year, you worked Stevie Legend. Stevie Legend is also another young kid, up and comer.
Hmm.
Good mind for the business. He loves professional wrestling, and
Hmm.
he's doing well out there, making, getting out there, working a lot in the Northeast as well. So, what was it like working with Stevie?
It was good, but I was
Yeah.
kind of mad at myself at that match because there was certain spots that I called that I should have, like, certain moves I called. I thought like I could have executed them because I executed it with a lot of different people. But then it's like not everybody gonna know like certain moves I do. So that's when I learned that I could do stuff with certain people that I can do with other people. So it's like
Right.
I got to choose like my move set depending on my opponent because not everybody could do the moves that I do because I got like a little bit high flying but a little bit of certain lucha and I know a lot of people don't do lucha because the lucha style I adapt in the BWF because it was a lucha style school, so that's why I still have certain lucha stuff in my arsenal because of my time I spent in the BWF. So I got at that time that's when I really figured out like not everybody could do my style. So it's like
Mhm.
how can I change my style to go with this person instead of me just be like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this. How can I change my style so I could adapt? So that I was mad at myself for that, but it was also a good learning experience for me.
Right. I mean, you've only been wrestling what, 10 months, 11 months, something
Yeah,
like that.
9 months. 9 months.
9 months. Okay. So,
Hmm.
I mean, you're still going to work and try to find how you can work with anybody. You know what I mean? It's
Hmm.
like, not everybody's, and also, I know Stevie's quite the young guy. He's also been wrestling, I think, just about a year as well, something like that. So, I mean,
Hmm.
sometimes you just got to figure out how it's going to work with anybody. You
Yeah.
know. So also, just this one recently, last month, or not last month, the month before, you wrestled with Dashing D over at Paradise
Yeah.
Alley.
That was my second time wrestling him. I wrestled him in one of the
Okay,
T2T student shows. And
okay.
truth be told, in the PAPW match, a lot of people don't know
Hmm.
this, but I want to say a minute or 2 minutes into the match, I got dazed out for a move like I done 1,000 times. Like I did a tilt-a-whirl, and when
Yeah.
I went to go this way, when he went to take the bump, his foot hit my chin, and I started bleeding. And I started dazing out a little bit because it went boom, and it's just like a sudden impact. And the ref wanted to call the match, and I didn't want him to call the match. I was trying to fight through it because that was going to be my first Paradise Alley pro wrestling win, and I didn't want it to go to a no contest, so I just toughened it up, fought through it, and then I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself in that match. Like I could really like the toughness I had. I didn't know I had it. Like if that makes
Hmm.
sense. Like I didn't know I could like go to that extra win when it came. Like at the
So,
time like I had doubts in my ability for like quite some time, but it started changing gears. I went around that time I started like saying I belong in this business. I could do this.
it's the first time you got really good, clocked really good, and
Yeah,
you worked through it basically. So you proved to yourself that you're able to work through getting clocked really good.
yeah,
Yeah. Of course, you're supposed to wrestle Elijah Six, which when I found out you were supposed to wrestle him, I thought that was going to be a really great match. But then you got replaced with Lorenzo Vendetta. I think he was double booked that night or something.
nah,
Six.
he had one match. You talking
You
about
did?
Lorenzo?
Yeah, you ended up wrestling Lorenzo instead of Six, didn't
Yeah,
you?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. At Point Blank, which Point Blank, I thought was a really great show. Your match was really good with Vendetta, Battle Academy, a bunch of nice, good up and comers. Tell me what you thought about working with Lorenzo and going against them with the Battle Academy there.
It's crazy because when I first got to PAPW and I seen Battle Academy, I said to myself, I want to work with them one day. And then when Point Blank happened, it just like fell into my lap, and I was like a kid in a candy store because I wanted that already. I wanted to work with
Right.
like top PAPW guys, and working with
Hmm.
Lorenzo, it kind of like snowballed into like other good matches I had, like the match I had in the Midwest, the match I had in Ohio, and the matches I'm about to have in Indiana. That started like the the cycle of me like, all right, I got something going here. Like
Hmm.
and I enjoyed that match. That's one of my favorite matches as well.
That's really cool. Lorenzo's, he looks like a professional wrestler. I think that he's got a lot going for
Yeah,
him. He's another guy that out of this northeastern area, I think could be, do something with his career as far as professional
absolutely.
wrestling goes.
Mm-hmm.
Let's tell you, I'm going to ask you about one more guy, and then before we're going to move on to some other subjects here, you worked with Zach Gibbs, another PPW staple. What do you think
Mm-hmm.
about working with him?
It was good. That was another learning experience when I realized not a lot of people could work my style or understand my style. But the PAPW one, because I also did a wrestling open tryout match with him. But the
Really?
PAPW one, yeah, it was like a month ago. But the PAPW one, I felt like we had better chemistry that day.
Hmm.
For some reason, we had better chemistry, and it's it's up there from like if I had because I only had like 20 matches so far. If I have to like rank my matches, that would be on the top 10.
Okay. What happened with the wrestling open tryout? I didn't. That's a show I usually watch. Every well, it airs on Thursdays, but I watch it Friday mornings mostly. So, what happened with that? With that match there with the tryout?
I don't. That day they didn't do a spotlight match because they was doing the ballpark thing. I think they was doing.
Okay.
So it was just to see if like who is these guys basically.
Mhm. Okay.
And they gave me some good feedback. They like my gear. They said my gear looked professional. They just said I needed to work on a couple things, and I've been sharpening it up since then. I've been sharpening up my in ring ability.
I think Wrestling Open's got a good thing going there for a lot of their younger talent. They're bringing in a lot of younger talent. Obviously, a lot of guys from this area keep going up there. Um,
Yeah.
it's a really good show that they do on a weekly basis. These guys, these young kids go in there, uh, you know, getting some experience on TV, etc. And
Mm.
then they bring in some names that they can bring in, and it's a lot of fun to watch those shows. So
Yeah, they
um,
are.
yeah, so good luck with that and trying to get back in there in the
Thank you.
future. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, what is no? Sorry, went to the wrong direction. You just recently went out to Minnesota. Tell me what that's like. I mean, the
Mhm.
Minnesota at one point was a huge area for professional wrestling, especially when I was growing up. I'm quite a bit
Mhm.
older than yourself, but it was a really hot area. How was it, and how did that connection come about?
Um, I was just first of all, it was great, and it still is a big wrestling area. I noticed
Hmm.
that because like every crowd is different, and they have a hot crowd. Like I enjoy working with that crowd. But sorry,
All right.
how that came about? I was just in the beginning of the year. I did a lot of East Coast stuff. I was just wanting to branch out to see what else is out there, and I hit up their Instagram, and I by any means, like I told them like I'm a newcomer. I started at the time. I started like 5 months. I think I was like 5 months in. I told them I
Okay.
was 5 months in. Here's some of my matches. If you need anybody that needs help with ring crew or just throwing my name in the hat out there, and they seen that I was hungry enough. Like this guy would come from all the way to New York just to help set up the ring. Now we gotta book this guy to see what he's about. So they told me our next opening was around May 14th, and I thought I was just gonna come up for like a regular match. But then the promoter he texted me. He was like, "We're gonna put you in our mid card title match. It's the Innovation Championship." And at the time, I didn't know like who was the champion. I watched them because that's how I got interested with them. I was watching them. Um they had shows on Fight TV and some matches on YouTube. But then I found out that The champion name is Zimuya. So I was like, all right, let me watch some of his matches to see how this kid worked. And he had some good matches. He held the title for over, I want to say it's 10 months now. He held the title for 10 months. So it's like, oh, so they trusted me. They trusted me here to have a good match with their champion to see what I'm about. So it was like, all right. So when I got there, I flew down there. I took a plane. It was mostly like 3 hours.
Mhm.
And I thought it was going to be like one of those crowds where they don't know me, so they're not going to cheer me. So I come out the curtain, and the crowd just started yelling, like on the
Really?
top of their lungs. And I'm like, these people don't know me from a hole in the wall, but they cheering me like I'm a fan favorite. So I was just, and it went with the story we was trying to tell too. So it was like it played into us. And then when the bell rings and we taking the lap around, all I hear is new champ, new champ, new champ, new champ. And I'm like, this is so surreal. I've never been in like a crowd like this. And it was like, now I really got to show up, and I got to show up. And that's, since it was my first title match, my one, like top one favorite match. It was my first title match. The crowd was electric. It was a big crowd too. It was the biggest crowd I ever performed in front of. It was like 500-600 people.
Wow. What's the
So it
promotion,
was
if
like
you don't mind me asking?
Midwest
What
All
was the
Star Wrestling.
Midwest? Okay.
Midwest All Star.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
I'm gonna look that up a little bit later. That's awesome though. That sounds like, you're what? You said 9 months in and you just worked in front of 500 people. That's pretty,
Yeah.
after 9 months, that's something. So let's see. You said that you're going to be debuting in Cincinnati.
No, I already debuted in Cincinnati
You,
last week.
okay. Last week it was.
Yeah.
Okay. I think yeah. All right. So tell me about that. I want to hear something about that. That was also, they used to have a lot of wrestling out there in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Yeah. And it's crazy because like that locker room was just, I'm just 8 months in, and I'm sharing the locker room with the likes of Carlito, JTG, Jake Christ, Sawyer Fulton, Myron Reed. Like the locker room was just like top echelon type of guys,
Right.
and
Yep.
I'm just here 9 months in, like just soaking everything in, like. And they didn't even know I was 9 months in. Like the guys I was in the match, I was in a 6-way with JDX. This guy named Savon.
Mm-hmm.
What's his name? I forgot two of the guys' names. I'm sorry for forgetting their names. But it was it was a 6-way match, and most of the guys in the 6-way match either been in AEW Dark, GCW, or WWE, like in a dark match. And it's like
Right.
I'm the only guy in this match 9 months in, and I hung with these guys that's been everywhere. And that has to be, if not my second favorite match, because like I learned like every match, if I'm not learning something, I need to learn something about myself, or I need to learn something about my opponent, or I need to learn something about the business in general. And that's what makes my matches my favorite matches. And that night I just learned I I can hang with like people that been on dark. I can hang with people that been all over the country. And it was like when after the match happened, I was like, yeah, I know I'm only 8 months in, right? And they were like, really? And it was like, yeah. And I was like, it was just an amazing experience. It was just that I'm lost for words with it.
The nerves must have been crazy during going into that, huh?
Not really,
No.
because like after for me the nerves started clearing out after I wrestled in front of 500 people. Once I
Yeah.
wrestled in 500 people, it was like, okay, we got something here.
Right. But every match is a learning experience, and you get better and better with every match. Basically, you improve
Yeah,
your skills. You learn with every single match.
yeah.
Yep. All right. So, what would you say right now is your biggest inspiration in professional wrestling in this business?
Like mainstream or independent?
Either one, or go with both. Why don't you start with the independent first?
I gotta say, Brother Greatness,
Okay.
biggest inspiration of mine, and
Yeah.
he's my trainer. But his body of work is just amazing. Like he has the Church of Greatness in Russell Open, he has the Crazy Greatness in TOS, and then he has like the regular Brother Greatness everywhere else, and it's just like the way he switched gears. It's like it's amazing. Like he could be crazy 1 minute in the TOS, then he could be jolly with saying prayers with the fans, and then he could just be evil and call these fans miscreants and all these other stuff. I just love his body of work. Like it's just amazing. It's just amazing.
The funny thing is, I've heard his name for many years, and I was, I've been around for quite some time, and I took a break from professional wrestling for a couple of years, and about 4 years or 5 years ago, I started, getting interested in it again and coming around, and then started this podcast, and I had heard his name a lot, but never saw him, and then it wasn't until this year that I saw him, to be honest with you, and then when I did, I was like, this guy's freaking great. He's hilarious. He's funny. He knows what he's doing in the ring. He knows how to get the crowd riled up. Like he holds a crowd in the palm of his
Yeah.
hand, basically. You know what I mean? It's just the guy's amazing.
That's just something I want to learn. Seeing him do it, just holding making the crowd just react how he wants them to react.
Yep.
It's just an art form on itself. Like it's just amazing.
Yeah. What would you go with for your mainstream?
He's not wrestling right now, but I gotta say, from mainstream is Johnny Gargano.
Yeah.
Because
There's rumors of his return coming up sometime
yeah,
soon.
yeah.
So
But
we'll see.
his match with Ricochet at NXT Takeover Phoenix is the reason why I started training to begin with.
Okay. I missed that version of NXT.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Best version of
The
NXT.
the black and gold, now it's just I don't even know what it is. I can't
Yeah.
even. It's hard. It's a hard watch. I'll tell you that much.
It
I
is,
try.
but certain matches and they worth watching in NXT. Like I still go
Yeah.
back to. I don't watch it like I used to, but I still go
Same.
back to see what they doing. And
Mhm.
certain matches, I feel like they good.
I actually watched this week's for the first time, or no, the what is it? The pay-per-view, whatever. The In Your House. That was the first time I turned it on in probably 2 months, and there was a couple moments that I really enjoyed, and some of it I didn't. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch. I didn't get to watch it yet, but I'm gonna watch it like maybe sometime this week.
Yeah, it's hard to keep up with everything. There's wrestling on almost every day of the week.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
it's crazy now. Everybody's got a streaming app. Everybody's got a show streaming, whether it's YouTube, IWTV,
Yeah.
Peacock, all that stuff. All right, let's see. Who is one person you would like to square off against?
There's a couple of people actually. Just like I have a list of people, but
All right.
the match I really want right now is it's a match. It's a Midwest match, and it's a guy that he was in the 6-way in Ohio. His name is JDX, and
Okay.
when we was working in the 6-way, like there's certain times like when you're in the ring with somebody, or if you in like in a tag match, or you just square off with somebody for the first time, you just see that instant chemistry. And I feel when we were squaring off, I just felt like, yeah, this could be a good one-on-one match. Like the way we was flowing and the way we was just on each other's time, and I was like, yeah, this could be a one-on-one match. So that's the match I want right now. Because I have a whole bunch of matches. It's just we'll be here forever. We really would.
I see that sometimes in, say, 6-ways, or say in battle royals, or you know what I mean. That's just like these two guys that I've never seen wrestle in a singles match could start off like a battle royal, or they'll meet each other in a 6-man or whatever, tag team match, whatever. And I'm like, damn, I've never seen these guys wrestle a singles match. And it's like, I'd love to see it. And of course, there's nowhere that it never happens. You know what I mean? I've said that for a couple times over the last few years, and I'd love to see that with certain guys out there.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself in a year from now? I mean, in the 9 months that you've been around, you've come pretty much a long way. I remember there for your first match at PAPW with the tag match, and you've greatly improved in that, But where do you see yourself going in about a year?
In a year, I see myself still growing, still learning. Like I'm not one of those guys that want to rush into like the mainstream. I just want to take my time and grow my character, let it marinate, let it flourish, so people could like digest it. So once I get like over in certain parts of the country, that's when I think about going to that next step. But for right now, I just want to keep growing, keep having good matches, keep elevating my game, keep meeting different people to see different perspectives of the business. That's right now. That's really my main goal.
That's growing is very important. Get your name out there. Social media, is such an important part, of today. So keep busy on that. That
Yeah,
helps greatly. Whether it be Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok is great because you can put clips of your matches, you can put promos, and
yeah,
people see that stuff. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So that's very helpful. Let's see. So far, what has your favorite match been out of all of those?
The title match in
The title
Minnesota.
match.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And what's the best advice you've gotten in this business?
Oh, I got so many advices. It's so
We
hard
got
to.
time, man.
I want to say I actually this was the best advice I had. It was in the wrestling open tryout. One of the guys from Raves and Curls, the tall one, his name Trayvon.
Trayvon
He
Jordan.
gave
Yep.
me advice without even noticing, because like he just said, when you out there, just live your best life, basically.
Hmm.
Live your best life, and that helped me so much, because like when I first started, it was more like me trying to be comfortable in my skin as a wrestler, and I wasn't living my best life. I was just nervous. I didn't want to mess up. I didn't want to forget this spot. I didn't want to do this, and then I was just worried about 10 different things. And then when he told me just live your best life, it made me calm down. It made me just like enjoy it, instead of like worrying about this A, B, and C. Just just living it out, and let let the match speak for itself. Let it play out by itself. Because mistake, like Brother Greatness gave me another advice, good advice. Mistakes happen, so you can't beat yourself up for it. It's just gonna happen. So it's like when I started realizing that, I stopped worrying and less, and that's when my performance started getting better. When I stopped worrying about messing up, and stop worrying about A, B, and C. Stop worrying about the next thing. Just started enjoying myself. So that has to be one of the best advice I got.
Nice, nice. So why don't you tell everybody where you could be found and tell everybody what you got coming up? You've got to have some stuff coming up, right?
Uh,
Matches, events.
I got more Midwest matches coming up. I will be wrestling in Indiana July 15th for Hybrid Championship Wrestling. And I
Okay.
also have a match coming up in upstate New York in the middle of this month, towards late next month. So it's like I got a couple stuff coming up. I'll be back in Minnesota in October. So
Okay.
that's I got a lot of exciting stuff coming up.
Cool. Cool. Do you follow a lot of professional wrestling? I mean, obviously we've talked a little bit about Wrestling Open, and we've mentioned NXT. What do you watch today currently? I mean, do you try to keep up on top of things just to as like a learning curve and etc.?
I don't really watch like WWE or AEW that much, but I guess
Hmm.
I watch some of it when I get the chance to, like pay-per-views and stuff. But mostly I just study IWTV and YouTube and stuff like that could work for me. Like that's how I find like people I want to work with, from watching,
Hmm.
just seeing who's around the independents doing good right now.
Yep.
I just study like who's doing good and how can I make it to that level. And then a lot of people, more good advice. Somebody told me just travel. Don't
Yeah.
be afraid to leave your nest. Travel, see other places, other countries, see Florida, see North Carolina, see Ohio, see Minnesota, see California, see Texas. Just go out. That's how your name is gonna get out there, by just traveling. they're gonna notice you from different territories, and then that's how you're gonna get more bookings. And that has to be another good advice I got for my young career. Just don't be afraid to just test the waters and leave the nets.
Right. So you're willing to travel all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good. So where can you be found? Actually, before we hit that, where have you tried up? Have you worked up at Test of Strength at all? Slick Wagner Brown and all those guys.
I did one match.
One match.
It was the beginning of the year. I worked a tag match. It was with I'm not good with names. I'm sorry. I'm really not good with names. I was just good.
They're not going to like that if they see that.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's just I'm just good with faces because there's so many wrestlers, and I didn't realize that till I got in the business. I'm like, wow, there's so many people that wrestle, and it's hard to keep up with names.
Yeah. All right. So why don't you tell everybody where you can be found on the social area and when you're all that stuff?
Twitter and Instagram, Millz Hendrix BX_. I got TikTok. It's Bronx Prodigy, the Bronx Prodigy, and I got Twitch. I stream video games, baseball, wrestling, all types of video games. You can find me at Millz the Prodigy on Twitch, and Facebook is just Millz Hendrix.
Well, everybody, I want you to go and look Millz up. And you said you were coming up. Did you mention you had Paradise Alley area matches coming up?
I'm not sure. I'm still waiting for the list for the next Alley fights. I'm not really sure when the next time I will be up in Connecticut.
Okay. Well, I look forward to having you back here in Connecticut. But I want to thank you for coming on. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. The audio will be up shortly after this. And thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.